Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Marian Wolen. I'm representing Mitigram, and I and my colleague Simon will tell you a bit more about Mitigram and what we are trying to do for global trade and for trade finance in particular. I will take a bit of a step back when it comes to having a look at global trade and trade finance. If the slides are going to work with me. Global digitalization is transforming and streamlining every other sector. From manufacturing to sales, from logistics to payments, where even the smallest of companies can nowadays sell globally. So whereas global trade has changed, the way it has financed hasn't. I'll really try to see whether I can get this working here. To finance trade, corporates and commodity traders rely on banks and their respective bank network. Sorry, that was the other way. and they need it predictably, accurately, and fast. But trade finance is locked in fragmented, siloed processes and communication. Globally, trade finance teams rely on emails, messaging services, multiple portals, and siloed systems and Excel spreadsheets, creating low levels of insight and missed business opportunities and high levels of operational and compliance risk. And then, obviously, Mitigram is going to change it all. At Mitigram, we believe that when trade is made frictionless and technology is democratized, it's better for everyone. Therefore, we seize the siloed, analog, and outdated complexity, and we make it seamless, creating the best possible access and execution in global trade financing through a multi-instrument, multi-bank, multi-format, and an agnostic digital platform. Imagine a platform that allows trade finance teams to get any trade financed regardless of party or country of risk. Always making sure that you have the most optimal trade finance provider, regardless what network they're on or what channel they prefer to use. Having control and insight over the trade finance exposures positions globally throughout the organization. And easy execution, because at the end of the day, it is all about securing the cash in and get paid faster for your business deals. So that is my dream. I'm the founder and chief product officer of Mitigram, so I like to dream. But then I'm actually joined here by Simon, who's my colleague that tries to put some more reality to this and try to explain to you how we're doing this. The stage is yours, Simon.
Thank you, Marion, for that introduction. I'm going to bring you a bit down to earth, but try to show you all how Mitigram is trying to change Marion's dream into a bit of a reality. So here we have the Mitigram ecosystem. It's made up of 3 solutions for corporates and banks. First, we have Mitty Square, which is an RFQ marketplace for parties to find and reach out to the most appropriate counterparty to finance their trade. It's rather like an FX All or a 360T, but for trade. The next component for corporates is Mitty Manager, So going beyond just the marketplace, we built a transaction ledger to manage all of your trade finance instruments throughout the life cycle of that business. Finally, we have Mitty Gateway, which is a product focused on banks, allowing a bank to offer a portal to all of its trade finance corporate clients to come into the bank, for the bank to be able to digitalize and structure that transaction request and capture it all in one place. So let's dig a little bit more into Mitty Square, our RFQ marketplace. This marketplace covers the RFQ workflow for all of the core trade finance instruments, from vanilla documentary LCs, export LCs, confirmation and discounting, import LC issuance, discounting of receivables, invoices, both with credit insurance, without credit insurance, discounting of negotiable instruments, bills of exchange and promissory notes, and finally also the issuance of contract guarantees, bid bonds, advance payment guarantees, performance guarantees, retention guarantees.
That's enough.
So what do we have here? It's in a picture. We have multiple corporates on our platform reaching out to multiple financial institutions across the globe. Corporates reaching out both to their partner banks, their core banks that are hungry for business, as well as reaching out beyond those banks to find additional risk appetite for the transaction they have. It creates huge efficiencies where a corporate can put in the transaction request at a press of a button, send that transaction out to all 18 of its core banks or a selection of its core banks, or indeed use the functionality that allows them to reach new banks that have matching risk appetite for the transaction in question. So the corporate reaches out to its banks, asks for quotation requests, the quotations come back, all centralized in one place, so that corporate can very easily compare and contrast the different pricings. It can also review very clearly which banks are able to do the transaction, which banks are unfortunately unable to do the transactions and decline the transaction, and the reason why they might decline that transaction. We have an open channel of communication directly between the requesting party and the bank recipient so that they can discuss, if necessary, more details on that particular transaction. Now, what's the result of all of this? It creates a very large database of powerful and insightful data, because every single action on a quotation request is captured. So not only the pricing, but any chat that you have with the counterparty in question. Then you can pull off a large number of different reports and analytics so that you can look over time to see what is the pricing that I'm getting on average for this particular market. Which bank is the strongest in this market? Which bank is responding to me quickest? Which bank is very slow at responding to me? You know, and it'll allow that corporate to sit in front of their banks and have a much more, let's say, engaging dialogue with them, asking them, you know, perhaps you need to increase your country limit, perhaps you need more FI lines because I'm showing you business, but you're just declining this business, yet you tell me you're hungry for this business. So I want to put it a little bit in context of what the marketplace has done to date. Since the first business went on the platform, I believe in early 2016, the platform has facilitated in excess of $90 billion of trade finance business. That spans risks in over 100 country markets, and I think over 1,000 different underlying obligor risks have been priced. We have over 300 large multinational corporates, commodity traders and banks registered on the platform and actively using it. We won a couple of awards and a couple of certifications there below. So we didn't just want to stop at the RFQ marketplace, Mitty Square. We recognise that actually the transaction needs to be executed, managed and monitored throughout its life cycle. So we developed Mitty Manager, which is a centralized, it's a collaborative transaction ledger for a corporate to manage, monitor, and execute all of its trade finance instruments right from inception through to, for example, LC issuances, amendments under LCs, presentations under LCs, reduction in LCs, and finally to the repayment of those LCs and the freeing up of limits and the like. It creates a huge amount of efficiencies, it reduces manual workload, and it gives you a great centralized, real-time ability to oversee your current business, the status, and follow that more closely. And as I said, it provides end-to-end execution for all of those core trade finance instruments. What we were particularly interested in making sure we do is that we allow communications between corporates and banks in whichever way they want to communicate. We are truly channel agnostic, and we're not aligned simply to one way of communication. And we appreciate that corporates and banks work with emails, they work with scanned copies of documents, with PDFs, and finally we have also embraced the channel, which is SWIFT, of course, where a lot of banks are becoming MT798 ready, and that will allow corporates with a BIC for trade finance to use SWIFT to interact with their banks. And we are I think it's one of only 3 platforms globally that have the certification for SWIFT for trade finance for corporates. This goes again a bit to the data and the value of that data. I read recently on a management consultant report that people, on average, I don't know where they get this figure from, use 2% of the data to their advantage. So here, with both Mitty Square and Mitty Manager, you build up a huge amount of data that's insightful and powerful for you to manage your business. Whilst I've been here, we've had talks with a number of different corporate treasurers, and we've asked them, could you tell me right now, what is your outstanding exposure on guarantees across your entire group? It's a problem. It's difficult, particularly if they have different centres, Singapore, London, Frankfurt. Each centre is doing something different. Each centre has their own special spreadsheet. This allows all of those guarantees to be centralised, managed, monitored in one place, so you know exactly what you're doing with your banks. You know when guarantees are going to expire, when it's going to free up limits. You have an oversight of when LC presentations are going to occur, how quickly your banks are going to accept documents under LCs, how quickly they're going to discount those proceeds under LCs, so you can have a much better management of your cash flow. This is the network that we have built to date. I don't need to go into the corporate names. I think it gives you a flavour of those entities that are using Mitigram, both Mitty Square and looking at Mitty Manager as well. Obviously, there's a huge bank network. We are multi-bank, truly open platform. A corporate can reach not only registered banks on the platform, but they can also reach any other bank, non-registered, with their quotation requests. It's a truly open platform. So this has been rather a monologue, but we'd encourage you to come forward, and we'd love to have a bit of a dialogue with you guys. So we've scratched the surface on what we offer. We haven't given a demo exactly, but we'd love to give you a demo so you can understand better the products.